republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. As per requirement, notice is hereby given that this is a special meeting of the Borough of Highlands Land Use Board, and all requirements have been met. Notice has been transmitted to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times, and notice has been posted on the public bulletin board. Formal action will be taken. Roll call.
Mr. Braswell?
He is absent.
Mr. Blewett?
Here.
Mr. Card?
Here.
Mr. Colby?
Here.
Mr. Fox?
Absent.
Mr. Francie?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Here.
Mr. Knox?
Here.
Mr. Kutosh?
Yep.
Mr. Nolan?
Here.
Ms. Ryan?
Absent.
Mr. Stockton?
Here.
Mr. Wells?
Absent. But it looks like we have our form. Okay. Looking at number 5 on our agenda, we do have 2 things to discuss there. The first is a discussion and vote on the final draft of the master plan reexamination, and in your packets and posted on the municipal website was the final draft of the master plan document that we've all been working on. And we have our professionals here tonight, and I don't know if you need to give any update or anything with regard to the report, but you're welcome to make a final statement on what we last revised.
First. Please raise your right hand. Solemnly swear testimony about the truth, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please identify yourself for the record and your connection to the board.
Christine Bell, professional planner with T&M Associates, writing the plans for the board.
Yes, please. Please raise your right hand. Solemnly swear testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And name, affiliation with the board.
Sure. Stan Soletta, T&M Associates, and planning consultant for the board.
So I will just give just a general overview of the only changes we made to the plan from the last reiteration that we talked about. So I printed out a large version of the proposed zoning map with the few tweaks that were discussed last time. I guess most importantly, the new MXU zone, and then also bringing the Central Business District back a little bit, just along the Bay Avenue corridor. And then the WC3 zone addition. The only new recommendations to the plan were to create a new mixed-use zoning district for the Shadowlawn Trailer Park site. The regulations for the district would include multifamily housing with parking, a maximum density of 30 units per acre, maximum 10 stories, and a maximum height of 125 feet. And also other permitted uses would be retail uses, office uses, restaurants, including rooftop restaurants, and single-family homes. The other recommendations we made changed were to allow parking as a permitted conditional use in all business districts, with the exception of waterfront commercial properties. In waterfront commercial properties, permit parking will be permitted as an accessory use only. That was a new recommendation from last time. And then to create a new waterfront commercial district, WC3, encompassing block 84, lot 2.01, to allow for commercial boat basins, a variety of other uses. Those were really the only changes from the last time we discussed, based on our discussions last time.
And we've gone through a good solid year putting this document together, and I think we've kind of covered everything. Does anybody on the board have any questions or comments with regard to anything that you've heard?
I would comment not regarding Christine's testimony, but for the record and benefit of the public, that why we're meeting tonight, on the 27th of December, is because we extended the public hearings at the request of the public at the special meeting that we had in November, so that we could include you and I and other board members going to the U.S. was the US Geological Survey meeting in Atlantic Highlands, and then we had a meeting on, another public hearing on December 8th, where we adopted the final language, and we're not hiding anything from the public by trying to have this, in between the holidays.
You're right. It's not meant to be a
Right.
slip-through type of meeting.
Right.
There are statutory requirements and
Right, and then,
grant funding requirements and obligations for us to finalize our report and get it to the DCA and wrap that all up. We're actually, I think, a little bit behind schedule, but we need to wrap it up.
we need to wrap it up, or lose funding, or, and there's gonna be changes to this board, are anticipated, on the first of the year, we want this board to finish this job.
Any other comments or questions from anyone? Seeing none, we'll open it up to the public for questions about the testimony that you heard tonight to wrap this whole process up, or any comments that you might have. And anybody who's interested in speaking, please raise your hand. We'll get you sworn in, and then we'll find out who you are and what your questions or comments are.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we do that, I just want to enter into the record, in addition to the prior notification of all the various meetings on this, once again, I had Kathy re-notice for this evening's meeting, notice of the special meeting, and the purpose of same was published in the Asbury Park Press. We have the affidavit, there's a copy of the notice. In addition to that, a copy of the proposed master plan was once again resent to the Monmouth County Planning Board, and we have the certified mail and receipt for that. And a notification of what was going to take place tonight, continuation of the prior hearings, was sent to the borough clerks of all the contiguous boroughs or townships to the borough. Atlantic Highlands, Seabright, Middletown, Monmouth County Planning Board. So we complied with the statute regarding the notification for tonight's proceedings.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to make just one small comment about notice. There's quite a few. There's multiple people who were at the meeting, our last public meeting, and we talked about the 12/22 meeting. They left this meeting thinking we were gonna have the special meeting on 12/22, and they showed up here at 12/22. In spite of the fact, at this point, we clearly put it on the website as 12/27 after we struggled with it. I mean, we as a board need to be cognizant of, if we make some commitment about a meeting, that somehow we get the notice out more than just putting it up on the town site. And I've discussed this with the Borough Website Committee, Carolyn, and she understands the issue, something that we need to take care of on the board. So, just a small comment. And we apologize to the people who did show and found the door locked.
Found the door locked and that the meeting had been switched to
Right.
tonight's. Anybody want to start? Any questions from the public? Yes, sir.
So you want to ask questions or testify?
Ask questions.
Okay, just identify yourself for the record, you don't have to be sworn in since you just said.
Timothy Gillen, resident, East Point, Unit 509. I have a couple of questions, and the MXU zone has yet to be adopted?
No, this is just a suggestion as part of our master plan updates. It will be up to the council, at the council's discretion, to prepare an ordinance and adopt an ordinance at a future date.
The other question, well, several questions. How did one arrive at 30 units per acre, 10 stories, 125 feet, rooftop restaurants? How was that determined?
Through a very healthy debate with the board and the public, and a decision, a consensus of the board that would be appropriate for that project.
Was traffic taken into consideration in the determination of the number of units and the uses?
Traffic, density, population, a lot of things were taken into consideration.
The master plan has a provision in mitigating steep slope stability.
Yes, it does.
And they're addressing that in general?
And a specific recommendation as part of this master plan update to revisit our existing steep slope ordinance and strengthen it and bring it more into compliance with the International Building Code requirements as far as setbacks and disturbance to the slope and setbacks from the top and the toe of slope. And actually, recommendations in here with regard to our tree clearing ordinance as well. To not permit any tree clearing.
That's not necessarily going to, I don't know if that's one. It's not necessarily going to address the slump lot issue associated with USGS.
We discussed the Menard report. We, on December 6th, I think it was, several of the board members went to a presentation at Atlantic Highlands Borough, specific, not to the slump block issues, but specific to the potential triggers for shallow landslides and what might cause or what might trigger shallow landslides. We brought that information back and had a discussion after December 6th at our next regular planning board meeting on December 8th, specific to those requirements with regard to that discussion and with regard to the Menard report and slump blocks and everything else.
Has the board members been through the trailer park and noticed their existing retaining walls and the condition of them?
Personally, I have not. I don't know if other board members have.
I have, they're moving, they're leaning. So there's significant issues that potentially exist with any development that's going in on that location.
And just as with whatever was proposed several years ago and approved by the board several years ago, anything future will also have extensive geotechnical reports and investigations associated with whatever might be proposed in the future on that property.
The report indicated also, your reexamination report indicated that there was an application pending before the board.
For that property?
For that
the
property.
Shadow Lumber? No, there is not, and that's not true at all. There was several years
In
ago.
the report.
There was several years ago an application that came in and was approved by the board based on an ordinance that existed at the time, and that ordinance went through a court battle and was turned over in court on a technicality. That prior project has since been abandoned, and whatever happens now will start from scratch in the future.
So you have no planning board application for the development
No
of that
application
property?
for anything on the Shadow Lung property that we're aware of at all.
And the public will have a chance to be able to comment on any application that comes forth?
As well as any proposed zone
Zoning.
change, which will start at some level at the council. And that ordinance will come to us for review and comments and back to the council to ultimately get adopted, and then after that, site plan application and review along with, all the permitting from all the agencies.
And the ordinance, proposed ordinances will be published where?
Whenever they're drafted, they'll be done at the council level, however the council handles it, but I assume it's something similar to our process, where public notice is given, the first draft of the ordinance is introduced, posted on the town's website, published in the newspaper, or indication of it is published in the newspaper, and then it's sent to us for review. And that's also on our agenda and published and, open for public
But you guys have
comment
to
here.
comment on the ordinances as proposed by the municipality.
That's right.
Okay. I know how it's done, I'm just telling you. Or letting them know. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Lori Dibble, 2 Matthew Street.
Thank you.
Okay, so the members of the land use board, they must know that this is a very unpopular decision.
You're not asking a question, you're testifying. Raise your right hand, please. Put your hand up. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to offer to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay,
Okay, yes, the answer is yes.
Yes.
I assume it's yes. Okay, and you're Lori Dibble.
yes.
Okay, all right, now you're free to make comments as opposed to just asking a pure question.
Okay, well, this increased density and the high rises, increasing this from 6 stories to 10 stories and from 14, 15 units to 30-some units is extremely unpopular. Each time it's come up, there's been tremendous public outcry. There's been petitions by surrounding property owners 3 different times.
Hold on one second. No petition has been submitted to this board as part of this process at all. So
Not
what
as
you're
part
saying
of
now
this
is hearsay.
process, I'm talking about in general.
Right, but what you're saying now is hearsay, because it's not, no petition is in front of us.
No, it's not
at all.
hearsay.
It is.
It's, you
It's
must be
historical.
aware of how unpopular publicly this move is.
Well, let me answer that, in that we actually conducted a survey as part of this master planning process, and it wasn't that unpopular.
It was not supportive of it.
It was 52 to 48. It wasn't tremendously unpopular, it was a plurality. It was a good mix of people that want it and a good mix of people that don't.
What were the numbers though? What's your total count in that survey?
One second, let me just.
Yeah, so remember,
280
I'm not gonna, we can't recognize you just calling out, so hold that.
So, okay, I have a couple of questions. There, if you have zoning ordinances that result from a master plan reexamination report, are they the same, are they handled in the same way that the previous zoning ordinances have been? Is there a chance for the surrounding property owners to protest zoning that results from a master plan reexamination? Mr. Serpico?
The process is that it goes from here to the mayor and council. They draft ordinances. You have the opportunity to protest those zoning ordinances before the mayor and council. Then, when they're sent back over to us for comment, and look at the agenda, we can come in and make additional comments to this board as well. So you will, you ask me a question, I'll give you a straight answer. So you will have at least two opportunities to voice your opinion regarding the ordinances.
Correct me, because I may be completely mistaken, but doesn't the land use, statute, doesn't it have a different adoption procedure for zoning ordinances that result from the master plan reexamination?
What do you mean different from what? Other land use ordinances?
Other zoning ordinances, yeah. So specifically, is the petition that you can do for surrounding property owners, is that still a valid
I
process?
don't know that. That I don't know. I don't know the answer on, I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think it's I think that there's
Yeah,
that
right.
process isn't used if the zoning results from.
You have an opportunity to voice your concerns, pro or con, before the mayor and council when the ordinances come out, and then you have a second opportunity to do it. Whether or not you can do a petition on that, I'm not sure.
Okay, so I guess my next question is, if this was such a good thing, how come it wasn't in the original master plan draft? That we spent a really long time preparing and hired professionals to do.
Well, this is probably the third time I've been through the process of updating our master plan. I think maybe Chris might have been involved with some longer term than me with regard to updating our master plan. We look at everything across the board in the whole town each time we've done it.
And if I recall, Chairman, there were certain issues that I recall you saying that for the subcommittee that worked for the master plan for the better part of a year, or longer, then there were certain issues that the committee was divided on and did not have a consensus. And those issues got resolved by the entire board.
I
With
mentioned that
an
being
overwhelming majority.
in a very healthy debate
Right.
during the whole process.
I would take the issue with that, saying that it was overwhelming when you agreed upon. I say it was a healthy debate, good debate. The subcommittee was divided on the whole density issue and shadow line. So to say on the record that we were all in support of that, I think that's.
No, I said it was an overwhelming majority, and I believe it was 7-2.
I believe, I'm saying the vote was the majority of the people on this day is, I think you were way over the time frame, they got exhausted, 11 o'clock at night, people were just like, let's go home, unfortunately.
I think that's pretty insulting.
All right. Any other questions or comments from anybody?
Really quick, not a this point. I just moved here a year ago, although I've lived in this area my whole life. So this.
Question?
Well,
Question?
it's really a question. It's
Okay,
just
go
a
ahead.
discussion about the change to the master plan for Highlands. So there is no plan in place to build on Shadow Lawn at this point in time.
That's right,
So the plan is just what people could do, the most that they could do.
that's right.
We should also mention that we opened up other uses too.
Right, and as part of our debate and discussion, a little bit furtherance of your question there, we also expanded what other potential uses might exist on that property to help spark redevelopment effort on it.
It seems so dense. I'll agree with that. It seems very dense. And I don't really want to fall into that. I don't want that.
I don't think anybody wants that. We've been very sensitive to that. Any other questions or comments from anybody? Sure.
I might have had more questions if we were ready to the second. There were a lot more people here.
Well, it was, like I said, the whole process has been a year-long process. It wasn't only the 22nd that we discussed this. It's been an ongoing debate and discussion, all year long. Yes, sir.
Just a question.
Your name?
Angstover, East Point. The way the document is worded, it mentions 10-story building. Does it mean single building, or can there be multiple buildings? That's not clear to me. Can there be more than one 10-story building?
It's in the master plan, meant to spark an idea for redevelopment, and whatever idea the developer proposes, whether it be one building or multiple buildings or different level buildings or however many,
Right.
the units per acre that we decided on will be the controlling factor there.
Right, and just to refresh my memory of it, it also included single houses. So there may not be single houses, there could be just multiple high-rises.
Or a
Right?
combination of both.
Right.
Or a combination of both.
And it also included, provisions for office space or commercial
Right,
space.
right.
And that might not happen
Right.
that way. It's meant to be an effort that would spark the highest and best use of the property
Right.
by more creative minds than all of us together in this room
Right,
right now.
right, right.
And we'll see what happens.
So it could be multiple single-family homes, it could be multiple high-rises, it could be multiple high-rises with multiple restaurants on the top floor and things of that sort. So it's just that we're,
But you have to remember that we're dealing only with a 13-acre property.
Right.
And a significant portion of that is steep slopes or steep slope buffer areas that aren't gonna be disturbed at all, so.
Right.
However it gets whittled down to the leftover developable space will be determined by the development proposal and the ordinances that come in place in the future.
could I ask one more question?
Sure.
I was at the USGS meeting also, and he did talk about landslides primarily, he didn't talk about slump block failures. But he did indicate that in
Sir, can you please raise your right hand?
yes,
That's your left.
Oh.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
yes, thank you. He did indicate that at the park, you know, they are monitoring, I guess not only, I guess there's a slump block up there also.
Right, and this was discussed at our December 8th meeting as well. The results of that meeting, we debriefed the board and the public who was there at that time about the meeting that USGS, you know, the talk that they gave in Atlantic Highlands there. They mentioned that they actually have 2 monitoring stations, one at Mount Mitchell Overlook Park, and one at, they called it the bridge, but I never actually knew it as a bridge until the guy was talking about it. The bend in the road on Ocean Boulevard in Atlantic Highlands, where it's got a, you know, concrete structure there to hold the road up, and actually right below that concrete structure, there's an erosion.
Well, they said movement, there was movement, I think it was 8 centimeters or something of that sort.
8 millimeters over the last
Okay.
year in that eroded area.
Okay, but they didn't really talk that much about slump blocks.
No, his whole,
Right.
what had prompted our attending that meeting was feedback that we got from the public prior to December 6th at our last meeting, where several members of the public stood up and mentioned that the USGS was updating that Menard report from 1974, and this was going to be the discussion of that and how we all needed to go and absorb that information. But when we got there, it was specific to the triggers and monitoring and potential forecasting for shallow landslides.
Right.
And I actually was pretty vocal at the meeting, and I asked several questions of the presenters there from USGS about you know, development techniques, things to consider in our master plan effort, and specific to the process that we're going through there. So,
I may have missed it, but there was, I didn't see any provision in the MXU ordinance or recommendation relative to parking associated with the different facilities. How will that be addressed?
well, there are parking standards already in our land use ordinance, so I think that would tend to control. It all remains to be seen as that ordinance is developed over time, and however they're gonna handle parking will be determined by the ordinances scope of work there.
Okay, so as it stands now, the current provisions for parking will apply.
Right. Any other questions, comments from anyone? Yes, sir. Oh, Chris.
I'm
Manzi.
sorry, Chris Francie, 36 Fifth Street. Is it understood that it's 30 units per acre of developable land excluding the steep slope area?
No, we don't actually calculate density that way in our ordinance for any other zone in the town. Even along the waterfront, I
Well,
think,
We did with Bowling, he tried to,
he tried to use his riparian area there.
Correct.
And it was, we limited it to just upland area.
Right.
But, yeah, we don't make any subtraction out for, you know, steep slope or buffer areas or anything.
So to further his question, his statement or request, that's 13 acres times 30, it could be a maximum of 390 units.
If your math is correct, yes. And in my mind, if we have 10 stories and making that property as dense as we can, with 10 stories, more units stacked rather than spread out, it's less impervious coverage, and it's actually better for protecting the property and limiting the amount of stormwater runoff. Any other questions or comments from anybody? I'm sure. Yes, ma'am.
You know, it would be really nice to know if the rights of the surrounding property owners are preserved, the right to petition, you know, to know the answer to that, in zoning that results from a master plan.
It's irrelevant to what we're doing.
actually. It's a separate issue. Whether you do or you don't, doesn't matter. The board still has an obligation to go forward with the master plan process and adopt a master plan. That petitioning is something else to do with zoning. That's not what we're here for.
Okay, any other questions or comments from anybody? No? Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. And, move on with our discussion and, ultimately entertain a motion to, approve and adopt our, amended master plan to that point. Anybody on the board have any other comments or questions or issues? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve, the master plan draft and the, resolution that Mr. Serpico has prepared for us to codify that approval that is before us.
Okay. Second on the motion?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call?
Mr. Lewitt?
Yes.
Mr. Card?
No.
Mr. Colby?
Yes.
Mr. Francie?
I wish I could vote yes, but at this point, I worked so hard on the master plan, but at this point, the shadow lawn ordinance has poisoned it for me, I have to vote no.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Mr. Knox?
Yes.
Mr. Kutosh?
No.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. Stockton?
Yes. My count is, 6 yes and 3 no. And the motion carries and the master plan's adopted. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is review of proposed Borough Ordinance 16-14. Those are, the standards and requirements for use of small wind energy systems or individual windmills on properties. And in your packets from several months ago, and more recently, a reminder was sent out by email with a copy of the ordinance for everybody's review and comment. Yes.
Actually, can I just say one thing? I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to participate as your professionals in this process. And I wanted to compliment the board, members of the subcommittee, all the people who came out in the various meetings, public meetings, stakeholder meetings, the subcommittee meetings, the planning board meetings. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of effort on behalf of all the people who participated in the community, and it was a great process, and it was really a kind of a joy to watch you guys work this out, and I appreciate your work.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Stan and Christine, thank you very much for all your hard work and the work that you did, and please pass it on to your associates at T&M that we appreciate you.
No problem. There's no other meeting. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful New Year.
You too. Thank you both.
Okay. Good night to our professionals. Okay, so in your packets, there were copies of ordinance 16-14, the windmill ordinance. And we had tabled it, a few times in a row for, further discussion. What had happened and why it ended up as an item on the agenda for our special meeting tonight was our board secretary, Kathy Burgess, got word from our borough clerk, Dwayne Harris, that for some reason it couldn't be carried over into next year for us to generate our comments. And that's how it ended up on the agenda for tonight's discussion. I did take the time, and I didn't pass out comments for everybody, but I did take the time to list my comments in a Word document that I passed on to Mr. Serpico and to our temporary board secretary, Beth, to start the discussion on the process, and if everybody will, I guess, kind of bear with me, I can go through what my comments are. I know, Chris, you had some comments over
I
time.
hope you incorporated some of them because we've discussed it, but at this point, let's send the letter back. At this point, no one thinks it's a good idea.
Right.
No one thinks it's a good idea. So if your letter says anything different, then it's a waste of time.
I put 3 pages together.
I understand.
And I understand, but right in the
But that's
beginning,
the first
I
sentence,
did
yeah.
say the very first thing was, I didn't think the ordinance was ready.
Then I accept your letter as written. I mean, really, Andrew, you're beating a dead horse on this. No one thinks it's a good idea.
But we do have an obligation
Yes,
to report back.
send your letter back.
There's so many questions.
I approve his letter, send it back. Need
I,
a
to be
second?
honest with you, I don't even think that we talked about it, we kept pushing it off, because we were doing the master plan.
No, we
Like
did
Doug
talk
said, we were
about it.
running- We did, but I know that also, if you're sending a letter back to a new council, and when they get it, it's gonna be some, possibly new members of the planning board. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
So it's gonna come back to us in the
It's gonna come back anyway, so we can save it on midnight and talk about it if you want, but
no,
I mean,
we
you know,
don't want, we don't want that, right?
that's all I'm saying, I didn't even know it was gonna, honestly, I was surprised it was on.
So am I.
'Cause
So
this
I
is a
don't know
special
what's the
meeting.
best thing to do.
This isn't even the, regular meeting.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm all for the shortcut right now, but maybe just for our record, a little bit of clarity, and I'll be very brief, where I had.
Damn, you're gonna get it out there.
No, I'm not. I just had some quick
You wrote 3
updates
pages, man.
to the definitions and to the standards and where I
Andrew,
thought it
we
belonged.
believe, Andrew.
Okay,
We
I'm
believe.
happy with that, if
We
you're happy
believe.
with what I just explained.
We have your confidence, you have our confidence.
I second, Mr. Francie's,
Thought.
emotion.
Emotion.
And motion.
And motion that nobody wants us, that we advise the, council of that, and that we pass along.
Let's just,
Chairman's
I don't think it's
comments.
fair to say nobody wants it, just like it's not fair to say nobody wants other stuff. Let's say a majority seem to not want it,
Right.
and if they wanna send it back to whatever board, consists of next year, have at it.
Okay.
So that's the motion on the table as modified by what Mr. Nolan just said.
Right,
I accept the modification.
Okay?
You said.
I second.
Any discussion on that motion? None? Roll call?
Mr. Blewett,
Yes.
Mr. Card,
I'm gonna abstain from that.
Mr. Colby,
Yes.
Mr. Francie,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher,
Yes.
Mr. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
I'm gonna abstain too. Well, listen, we sent that from the council, so I mean, at Doug's point, I think so.
Mr. Kukoc,
Yes.
Mr. Stockton,
Yes. And my count for this one is 7 yes, 0 no's, and 2 abstain. The motion carries.
So you get 1 point like in hockey.
Okay. That concludes our business for tonight, so let's entertain the motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I would like to publicly thank Mayor Nolan for his 10 years of service to the borough, and for his, and for all the personal sacrifices that you and your family have made. And
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to serve with you.
Pleasure was all mine.
And Godspeed.
Thank you. Pleasure was all mine. Great working with everybody here, we don't have to agree on everything, but I think we all try to do the best for the town.
And Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, team helping successfully for everybody.
Adjourned.
Motion to adjourn, second by
Gallagher.
all in favor?
So,
Aye. Opposed?
council meeting is the 1st at 2 o'clock, right, Doug? 2 p.m., right? Okay, so show up at 2 early, it's really a meeting.
Okay, our meeting is.
Come at 2:30 and it's over, don't blame me, that was council.